So could you tell me how blade farming started?
Blade farming started 10 years ago, and it was designed to increase the volume of cattle through the RWM abattoir in Somerset and increase the quality of cattle we were getting through the system. And we needed to find a sensible solution when beef subsidies were over, and we saw blade as the ultimate solution for our business.
People have seen perhaps a decline in beef numbers over the last few years. How has that affected you?
Well, it's affected the whole industry. I mean, we're looking at a decline of over 12% over the last 10 years. And clearly, we're running a large volume abattoir-based business supplying into retail and burger manufacturers. And we need volume to keep the profitability of the abattoir there. So, it's a concern for the whole industry.
For a producer on the ground, I think the options are quite straightforward. They can try and do it on their own, or they can try and do it in partnership with other people. Farmers are often very good at farming and perhaps less good at actually marketing and selling their products. Dealing with supermarkets, dealing with big catering companies, that's a particular art form. And I think around the world, we're not just seeing in the UK and not just in the red meat sector, but around the world, perhaps the more successful and smarter farmers are looking to get themselves into genuine supply chains, and that might be involving their input suppliers, but certainly with people further down the supply chain, processors, retailers, food service companies, to give them a positive outlook on the future. It's not easy. I don't think anybody would pretend it's easy, but I think it's something that has to be done.
Our system is relatively simple. It's about getting straight lines in the supply chain. So we buy calves from dairy farmers. We buy all sorts of calves. We buy purebred Holsteins, Aberdeen Angus cross, Continental cross, and we then put them into one of our own rearing units where they're reared to a really high standard over a 12-week period. And we monitor in that rearing process their health status. We have a protocol to make sure the farmers follow a prescribed system, so we get the best health and the best standards out of those calves. And we work with Pfizer Animal Health in a really big way to make sure that we're using the best quality products in that system. Once they finish at the rearing period, we then put them onto a finishing unit, and at that point that's an independent unit. So we would say to a beef finisher, we'll put a calf in, a weaned calf at a certain price, and we guarantee to buy that calf back when it's ready to go for slaughter 12 months later with another guaranteed price. So our whole system is a three-pronged approach. It's calf procurement, it's rearing, and it's finishing. It's really as simple as that.
So going forward, I think there are two areas that I think in beef production we should be looking at. I think we need to encourage more collaboration within the whole beef supply chain, and the other thing is that we need to think about how we manage these risks, because risk management is becoming much more important in the agricultural sector.
The reason why farmers do get involved in our business is that they like the security. It's a really high risk business to buy anything and keep it for a period of time with the hope that you're going to deliver a positive return, a financial return on that product. We're talking about animals here. So from our point of view, we don't believe that farmers should farm unless they know exactly what they're going to get. And on that basis, that's why farmers are joining our business.
Being a beef producer in the UK is pretty hard work. We've not been very good at collaborating in UK agriculture at all over a long period of time, and that's perhaps been again as prevalent in the red meat sector. I think one of the interesting things is obviously that supermarkets are now and food service companies are looking, I think, increasingly at the sort of security of their supply chains. There used to be lots of beef and sheep farmers around. There's fewer and fewer these days, and I think it all points towards a situation in the future where sort of closer supply chain arrangements have to be part of the way forward.
And how could farmers get involved? What sort of opportunities are there?
The opportunities for our business now are huge. We've just announced today that we're going up to 50,000 head in 5 years' time. So what I'm saying is by 2015, we want 50,000 head in our system. Now currently, we've got about 16,000 head in our business, which is really big. We're by far the biggest in the UK, but we believe that we've got now a structure that we want to expand, and we're going to do that. So we're looking to recruit new calf rearers, and also beef finishers, and of course calf suppliers. So there's a great opportunity for beef and dairy producers.
Bottom line, what sort of money are we talking? How much per head could a farmer be looking at?
Sort of gross margin that we're talking about in the calf rearing business is between £30 and £36 per calf. Bear in mind that those calves are only there for a quarter of the year, so you multiply that by 4, you're looking at a reasonable return for that shed, and those sheds are costing approximately 15 to 30,000 per shed for 120 calves, depending on the spec of that shed. So that's a pretty good return. For the beef finishers, we're talking anything between 80 and 140 pounds gross margin that excludes labour, and once again, that's very dependent on how efficient that beef finisher is. So we're not underwriting inefficient beef finishers. What we are doing is working with the efficient ones and getting a positive return back to them.
Do you think utilising a body like Blade perhaps alleviates some of that risk?
Well, I think organisations like Blade and like the initiatives that they have introduced do help, because it introduces the opportunity to take out some of the risk, I guess. Now, in the beef sector, it's not the risk market in the beef sector isn't as mature as it is, for example, in the cereals sector, and therefore it's not possible to absolutely hedge prices. But through initiatives like Blade, it is possible to reduce some of the risk at the price end, and at the same time you can reduce some of the risks associated with the purchasing end, because obviously if you were wanting to start up, for example, and having to buy 50 or so calves to kick off an enterprise, you've got a lot of work to do in finding these calves. You can use organisations to source the calves, probably from one source, which helps in terms of disease control and managing these kind of risks as well.
So if you could look forward, say 5-10 years, where would you like to see Blade farming?
Well, certainly in the next 5 years, we're looking at 50,000 head and a major supplier into British retailers. We do believe through our sister company, the Hilton Food Group, that we'll take it into Europe, and I think that if we can provide more efficiencies to farmers, we'll keep growing the business, and that's really key to us, and we're absolutely passionate about driving forward.